There's just so much drama going on and just so much misconception, misinformation, and that is absolutely true in the real estate world as well. In today's video, we're going to talk about the biggest misconceptions in the real estate world that if you believe them, it will cost you money, it'll cost you your dream home. So let's get right into it. Is the highest offer the best offer? And the answer is no. What if you get the highest offer as a seller, but it's contingent upon the sale of a home? That home is in an area where homes just aren't selling. Well, that's going to put you, the seller, in a very risky position. It might be much better for you to take an offer that is fair. It's a cash offer and they're waiving, let's just say, the inspection contingency, maybe even the appraisal contingency. The highest offer isn't always necessarily the best offer. You should always wait until the real estate market is perfect before you buy and before you sell. Well, who's to say when it's going to be perfect? It is so hard to time a real estate market, to time a stock market. If it was that easy, there would be a lot wealthier people. Let's just take the COVID years and how the real estate market did. There were a lot of papers, a lot of news headlines that talked about a market crash. That thinking might have made sense because people have lost their job, production was lower. There were other forces that were actually weighing into the supply side, plus demand was really starting to creep up because people were looking for more space. They wanted to purchase a bigger house. They wanted to move out of cities into more remote areas. So there were some real strong forces playing on the supply side and the demand side. We know what happened. Prices escalated up. And so timing the market isn't so easy. Another example, prices are still at an all-time high across the US. Of course, there are some local challenges and we can talk about that in a separate video, but overall within the US, prices are at an all-time high. And so people have been saying over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, just focusing on that point, and that is the unaffordability of real estate prices. And absolutely, for a lot of people, it is unaffordable now to purchase a home because the barrier of entry is now so much higher. The median price of a house is now close to $500,000 across the United States. Just think about it. That's $500,000 to purchase an average home in America. It's crazy, especially when we understand where we were before pre-COVID days. But the prices are still going up. Not as fast, but they haven't come down yet, especially when compared to the same time last year. So point being is, I would be much more focused about, is now the time for you to purchase? Does it make sense with your lifestyle? Can you afford it? Do you have enough money saved up? Are you ready to own a home? That's what you need to ask yourself, especially if you're in it for the long term. And I'll get into why that is next. Once prices crash, they will never recoup. Absolutely not true. Prices over a longer period of time just keep going up. There's going to be dips along the way, but eventually it recovers. And we're actually going to look at this chart over here, which is the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index. This index is the key indicator of how U.S. home prices are doing. First off, I want you to note that we're at an all-time high as of June 2024. So if anybody is saying that across the United States, granted, there are some pockets, again, in certain places in the US where prices are actually down versus the same time last year, but this is just overall. Prices are up. And so if somebody is saying that prices are coming down, no, they're not coming down, for the exception of seasonality. Now I'll actually point to this dip over here, which looks pretty drastic, but this is just what typically happens during that time of the year. After the summer, prices come down, then they go back up. What I want you to notice, just if we were to draw a line through this, that line would go up over a long period of time. Now here's the crash of 2008, and it took about 10 years to recoup. When there is a crash, it's going to take some time for home prices to go back up again to where they were and then beyond that. And so when we talk about real estate purchases, your safest bet is going to be if you're going to be in that property, in that home for a longer period of time. And so if you're not sure if you should be buying now or maybe wait until next year, it's an election year, demand is slowing, supply is up, well, you can wait and see what happens next year. Or you can look at economic forecasts for the real estate market and see if prices are still projected to go up. If you wanted to hop into the market right now and purchase a home, you should be much safer when it comes to safeguarding your investment if you're going to be there for a longer period of time. Let's just say 10 years, which is essentially on average how long home buyers are staying in the home they're purchasing in, unless of course it's an investment property. But if you're going to be in that property for a longer period of time, it is very likely that your investment is going to be safeguarded, and it's even more likely that you're going to be making money once you're ready to sell that home. You should always buy a home over renting. I absolutely don't think that's true. I think for some of you, it actually is going to make sense to rent over buying. For example, let's just assume you're looking to live in an area where the rental prices are just so cheap because there are just so many different rental opportunities. But if you were to buy, it would cost you so much more in terms of the mortgage payment. Yeah, in that case, renting is going to save you money. That money that you're saving, you could invest it in other activities, say the stock market, the S&P 500, for example. You may also be somebody that is going to have to move around a lot. Maybe you're someone that is in the corporate life and they're sending you all over the world for a year or two to work through these different corporate businesses. You're not going to want to be locked down having to deal with a real estate property. You also may be somebody that just doesn't want to deal with having to take care of the home, repairing what needs to be repaired. If you have a landlord, it's the landlord's responsibility to take care of anything that breaks in the house as long as you didn't break it. Far less maintenance responsibilities on you as somebody who's renting a home versus you managing the home. And for some of you, having that extra time is valuable. Upgrading your home guarantees a higher value when you sell it. No, it doesn't. Let's just assume your property is on a road where the average price for a home is $500,000. I've seen this often where sellers over improve on their property. They may have this $500K home in a neighborhood that's $500K, and now they're pumping in $200,000 in improvements, maybe to enjoy some of it, and then 2 years later, they're trying to sell that home for $750K. And meanwhile, the offers coming in are more around $550K to maybe $600, with the argument that the highest priced home ever sold in that neighborhood was $550,000.
So be careful to what extent you're making the upgrades.
Let's just assume your neighborhood can easily accommodate a $200,000 upgrade to the home that you want to sell later on. You want to make sure you're getting the right upgrades. There's some upgrades that buyers don't really care about. If you're making upgrades with the assumption that later on you're going to want to sell it and you want to have a higher price based on these upgrades, then you're going to want to do those that most buyers are actually willing to spend money on. All right, so you're ready to purchase a home and you're looking at Zillow's valuation online, and that is to you the comp analysis. You believe the numbers, right? I mean, how can you not? Zillow is a large organization. Zillow is so often not correct with their valuations. Remember when they got into the home flipping business? They bought homes, trying to resell them at a much higher price for profit. Well, guess what? That business went under. So why did Zillow not succeed? Because their algorithm, valuation algorithm, wasn't precise. They were not good at estimating the value of the house to the point where they were actually losing money. Yes, you can look at the information directionally, but let's just assume you have a home that has been completely renovated. How does Zillow know? This is just one example. How does Zillow know what value to give those renovations? Zillow doesn't even know how much money was spent for those renovations. And so an agent has a much better opportunity to evaluate the fair value of the house based on reverse engineering that home to match other homes in the area. So no, do not trust Zillow's evaluation. Instead, do a comp analysis, a very detailed one. Flipping houses will always make you money. It can, certainly, especially if you're purchasing a house at a very good price. And you know that once you're putting the renovations into place, that home is going to be able to be sold at a much higher price, adding in profit for you. What if you purchase in an area in order to flip a house, but you don't really understand the market trends? And so what's happening really nearby is that there's a lot of new construction homes coming to the market. That home that you're about to renovate is going to be competing with the new construction homes. And so it is very likely that you're not going to be able to get what you need in order to cut a profit. Or you may underestimate the cost of making upgrades. Point being is that unless you do your due diligence when it comes to flipping a house, it is not a given that you're going to be making money. A bigger house is always better. No, not always. It depends. First of all, you got to make sure it makes sense with your lifestyle. If you want to resell that house later on in the future, you want to make sure that your house is not the biggest one on the street, because if it is the largest house on the street, it is very likely that the smaller houses that are going to be less of value are going to push down the price, because those people who are going to be buying into that community are more likely than not looking at homes that are much more in line with the lower priced homes, also smaller in nature. So your buyer pool is going to be much smaller. Purchase a house that is one of the smaller ones in the neighborhood for a few reasons. Chances are that the higher priced homes, the larger homes in that neighborhood, are going to bring up the value of your own house. Plus, it's going to give you an opportunity to expand if you can make it bigger, right? And you know that if you do that, it will still match up with the neighborhood. Lastly, you can save money if you don't shop with a buyer's agent. Maybe sometimes you can if you get a bad agent, but there's a few buyers that I feel are really going to benefit from getting a buyer's agent. That is, if you're somebody that's out of town. You want that local knowledge that an agent's going to give you. They'll be able to provide you with neighborhood expertise. Of course, they're going to crunch the numbers to making sure that you are getting a fair deal on the house. But maybe even more importantly is they're going to ensure that you don't make a mistake. There's some real savings, time savings, that a buyer's agent is going to provide you. If you're somebody that's still in the workforce, you're not in town, maybe you're a luxury buyer, there's some value to being able to keep your time for you while allowing the buyer's agent to do a lot of the work, right? Because once you have that time for you, you can invest that energy in pushing forward your business, in building a new business, maybe traveling, maybe relaxing, just focusing on yourself versus having to figure out the real estate market. So there you have it. We set the record straight. Are there any other misconceptions that you feel I should have listed? If that's the case, I would love to know what those are. Just put it in the comment section of this video. If you're somebody that's looking to purchase, sell in the area I work in, which is in Southwest Florida, Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch, Venice, of course, feel free to call me anytime. We can jump on a Zoom call, or you can meet me in my office, and I'd be more than happy to elaborate how I can help you with your real estate goals. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I always appreciate it when you do. Have a great day and take care.